Now we'll take a look at some transformations of the secant function. Now I'm going to start in the middle. This is secant of omega x. I know it looks like a W. Technically it is a W because Desmos doesn't like omega, but officially it's an omega. The Greek letter is not a W. As with sinusoids, this is going to change the period of the function. The period of just the generic secant and cosecant functions is 2 pi. So the period of a horizontally stretched or shrunk secant or cosecant function is 2 pi divided by omega, whatever is the coefficient of that point. If omega is more than 1, we get a horizontal compression and the period is shorter. If omega is between 0 and 1, we get a horizontal stretch, and the period is longer than 2 pi. We certainly could have a phase shift also. We're not going to do that with the secants and cosecants, but you definitely could, and it would work the same way as it did with sinusoids. The distance of the phase shift is phi over omega. Let's take a look at b on the end here. Adding or subtracting a constant on the outside of a function is a vertical shift. If b is positive, the whole thing moves up. If b is negative, the whole thing moves down. Hopefully that one's not overly surprising. Put it back in the middle here. And now we're going to do a, even though a is first, we're going to do it last because it does something interesting, something you might not expect. Just for reference purposes, there's the cosine function, a times cosine x. We know, I imagine, what's going to happen if I change a, what's going to happen to the cosine function. If I change a, the top of the cosine function and the bottom of the cosine function change to a distance of a away from the center. Well, so do the top of the secant function and the bottom of the secant function. They also change to being closer or farther from the center, which means they also are changing to being closer or farther from each other, depending upon the value of a, changes the range. So if I use a equals 2, this is 2 times secant x. My range, instead of being negative infinity to negative 1 and 1 to infinity, is now negative infinity to negative 2 and positive 2 to infinity. So vertical stretch. If I put in cosecant, works exactly the same way. Changing a changes how far apart the two ends are. Changing omega changes the period, and moving up and down with b.